for those of you out there that are not from Maryland, Old Bay is the best. Just need to shout it out there. If you've not tried it, try it. It's great on just about everything.
You can put on anything.
Yeah, like fries, amazing. Chicken, amazing. Fried chicken with Old Bay. Oh. But of course, any seafood, fish.
Yes.
Well, crab, obviously, and shrimp. Those are the classics. But yeah, it's and
mac and cheese. I think Lucas did it. Put it in.
Oh yeah, mac and cheese. Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
There you go.
Cheese, yeah.
Probably be good on rice even. That's one I haven't tried, but I'm sure it'd be good.
One of the reasons Maryland's one of the best states. Not the only, but one of the reasons.
Can you get Old Bay everywhere now?
Probably. I'm sure it's distributed.
At this point,
I'm sure it's distributed everywhere, but actually, I don't know.
Although
our cousin in Arizona,
I was going to say our cousin,
like she thinks she got like a
Sam's Club or something,
like at least the Sam's Club size because they sell it as Sam's Club here.
Yeah,
and it's like giant. Yeah.
Did someone like ship it to her or something? Did she have to?
I don't know. I just remember seeing her Instagram post about it.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome back to Screen Time. I'm your host, Josh. I'm a writer, you monster. I create a living. I am a creator. I am a creator.
That's good.
And my co-host, Jared.
Look upon me. I'll show you the life of the mind.
That was good.
But said like 10 times in a row, actually.
Yeah. I felt like I had to go with the creator one. Like
that was a good one.
I'm a creator.
Yeah.
I'm a creator. Because it's definitely something I could resonate with this movie.
Oh, we'll talk about that. Yeah.
But anyway, we're talking about Barton Fink, Coen Brothers' fourth movie. Is that right? Fourth?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was released in 1991, rated R, an hour and 56 minutes. Our synopsis. A renowned New York playwright is enticed to California to write for movies and discovers the hellish truth of Hollywood. Feel like this might be an autobiography by them, maybe?
Yeah.
So this was directed and written by Joel and Ethan Coen. And this introduces our boy Roger Deakins to the mix.
Yep.
But we still have Carter Burwell for music.
Yes.
And then production cost $9 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is another period piece.
Yeah.
Which makes it more expensive, but this is cheaper than Miller's Crossing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That was like 12?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe less locations.
Yeah.
They kept,
there's not that many.
Well, but they also there were a lot more interior locations, which were probably just sets they built and then had to. I feel like that's where.
Well, the hotel especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
like that has to be a set because of what happens with it. Yeah.
All right, so we got some talent in here. We got John Turturro, John Goodman, Judy Davis, Michael Lerner, John Mahoney, Tony Shalhoub.
Yep.
John Palinto, and Steve Buscemi. Love his character.
Steve Buscemi? Yeah. I know. Just one scene again, just like the last one. He's in one scene and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I guess you see him for a second, like way later, but he didn't say anything.
He didn't say anything. And then there's a couple notes from him and things, but he's not. You don't see him. Yeah. Because it's Chet is his name.
Chet, or is it Chet?
Chet.
Is it
Chet?
I don't know. I can't remember how he said it. It sounded like it could have been either Chet or Chet. And he kept repeating it too. But yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't look on IMDb.
All right. So what were your overall impressions on this?
I really enjoyed this movie. And this is another one. Well, again, we can mention both of us had never seen this.
Yeah, first time watching this one.
And I was excited going into this one because I don't really like to like beforehand be like, overhear anyone talk about it. I don't want to, or listen to anyone talk about it. To have your bias be skewed at all. But I've heard about this movie several times from people say it's very unique and a good movie, but I'm like, all right, we'll see. But I still wanted to go into it like completely unbiased.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was great. And I think specifically the dialogue of this movie was great with specific interactions that we'll talk about later. But also, honestly, I think, and seems like you probably did too, resonate with this movie on
a little bit, yeah,
with in the creative fields. So that's something we can talk about as well. But yeah, what'd you think?
I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I did.
Yeah, I didn't love it either, but
I did like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think agree with some of the things you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's I'll say it's probably my favorite since Blood Simple. I think like that's before this was definitely my favorite of the movies we watched of theirs. I think, and then this one probably would, go right above it so far.
Yeah, of the four, I think this one might be the best so far. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it so we can start talking about spoilers.
The cast. I wanted to mention some of the actors you already talked about. I was always looking the full cast to see if there's anything special in there.
Yeah.
And I specifically looked to see, is Frances McDormand in this? Because she's in everything. And she was credited as a stage actress voice. So just her voice, and I'm assuming that intro. It's like early on in the movie with the stage.
Where we kind of don't see the play, but it's kind of like hearing most of it because you see his facial reactions right at the opening.
So she's in it, at least her voice is. And then some of these other people, like, we know pretty much all these other people except for the couple that I like looked up because I'm like, these guys look familiar, but I wasn't sure. Was let's see, John Mahoney was from Frasier. That's obviously the big thing, but he was in Primal Fear, which is a movie we did a while back on our other podcast. First time watching it, I was like, this movie's so good. So he was in that. That's something I saw him in recently. And then the Michael Lerner, which is the this guy was great actually. His character. This was the boss.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is another guy. I'm like, man, this guy looks familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So for these are two like probably not good movies, but they're childhood movies of mine. For Richer or Poorer and Blank Check. Which again, if I went back to both these movies, probably not great, but I watched them a ton when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that makes sense. So that's where he's from. I had to look it up. Obviously, Tony Shalhoub is Monk.
Yep.
And Miss Maisel.
Yep.
As the dad, which is like, he's great.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I think that was it. Yeah. So I wanted to mention a couple of those because, and then the other guy, his assistant, he was from the last movie, wasn't he?
Yes.
His assistant that like he was.
Yeah, he was in Miller's Crossing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Like I wanted to make sure that was the same guy.
Gang.
That's right. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the actual movie and get into spoilers. So I'll say like when I think the part I didn't like was the third act, like the whole like the fire and the I don't know. Like
I knew as soon as I saw the part of the movie, I was like, Josh is not going to like this.
Yeah, it was just too unrealistic. Like
it's
up until that point, but up until that point, like the movie was very grounded and
it was, and
I think had things to say, right?
Yes.
As we were alluding to a little bit about how the creative process can be challenging, and especially the pressure makes it worse. And, like you have like a deadline pressure, and then all this pressure, and then like the expectations are set, and then it can create a mental block, and then like you're like, oh my gosh, and then so like that kind of stuff was great, but but it's like the twist it takes in the third act where you find out that his neighbor friend is like a murderer.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the heck? And then it feels like a whole different movie after that, because then it's suddenly like more about that, and then you get the investigator guys like poking around. And
Well, see, that part I still liked because it still was grounded. But yeah, like the very end, which I agree was like the silliest part of the movie.
mm-hmm.
There was still some cool imagery in there, but I mean, it was obviously intentional with how they ended the movie, with him just walking through the fire, basically. So, but yeah, I agree. That was the only part I was like, all right, I get what they're going for, but it was just, it didn't really fit with the rest of the movie.
Yeah, and it's like they were trying to build it up almost like with the constantly earlier in the movie talking about how hot it was always at the hotel. They were always like sweating.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so it was almost like, I don't know. There was something they were trying to say there, but I don't know if it really worked. But the other stuff, I mean, like, kind of even the other idea of like being good at one thing in a creative industry and then having to shift to something else. He was good at as a playwright, and also with an audience of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly he's got to write, and they really just want him to write a B movie about wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's like he can't do it. And then when he finally even puts something together, and he something he's like proud of, it's like it's too much of like a that's the word I want, like too artsy, I guess. Is the best way to put it. And they're like, no, we just want a stupid like wrestling movie. Just write a stupid wrestling movie, And he's like, the boss guys, the studio guys. Like,
I love that part because it's so funny because this is what, in the 1930s, right?
Yeah,
I think
like that. Yeah,
and that's exactly how movie studios are now, still to this day. Like they want like kind of just the
at least
like
at some
dumb,
level. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, not always, but but obviously there's still those more artsy type of movies which are also good. But I feel like there's a lot of movies still being made now that are just very dumb, like just don't have much substance to them.
Yeah.
And so it's just funny hearing that like that was always a thing, I guess, even back then.
Yeah.
But
well,
also,
it's because it's so there's always and it's the movie industry in general and stuff that's like it's a business. So there's like there's the tension between having to make money and having to make art, and it's like this thing that's always kind of like a tug of war. And it's like, and so sometimes it's more art and then it doesn't make very much money. And then sometimes it's all about making money and there's no art in it. And it's like, and then of course there's things in the middle. Good example, Doom Part 2 or even Doom 1, Part 1, but like where it's like both, right? Like you hit the nail on something that you can see the art in it, the craftsmanship and all that in there. And everyone's like hitting on all cylinders, all of the different talent that's involved in that. And then, but yet it's a success and making money.
yes.
And so, but then like the problem tends to be they learn the wrong lessons. Like you also saw that like with the earlier Marvel movies where it seemed like the earlier ones, there was different directors and storytellers that were kind of and they were I don't say allowing is the best way, but they were like letting them to kind of do their thing. And then, and like Guardians of the Galaxy is even a perfect example of that. Why that movie's even though it's a little bit later that it came about, it still was like a very standout movie because James Gunn was like doing his thing, and they kind of let him do his thing. But then as they kind of got further along, it just became we got to crank these out. We got to make money because they just make money, and then it gets watered down and less effort, less time and effort going into them, and then they just and so. Now hopefully they've hit a little reset, and
I hope so.
I'm really excited kind of about Fantastic Four when that's going to hit with the cast it has and stuff. But anyway, so
the other thing I wanted to mention that kind of was around that also with the two detectives when they like are in his room and reading the script, and I love their interaction because I think it was basically like how people react to artsy movies. Or the one guy was like, man, it's like, I thought, like, he was basically saying, like, this sucks. And the guy's like, actually, it was, so the two detectives are like,
on both
different
sides.
opinions. Yeah. That I feel like is like, that seems to be the way how people are with those kind of movies. But yeah, I love the dynamic of like even his response. That was at the end too, I think. Barton's response, where he was explaining how he wanted to make something. What was his wording? It was really good. He was talking about like he wanted to make something real and what was his wording? Something about making people actually think.
Mm-hmm.
This is what at the end when he's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, why'd you make this script and not just
Mm-hmm.
some dumb, B wrestling movie? Yeah. Yeah, all that was great. That's what I mean about like, and we'll talk about, there's several other scenes that I thought the dialogue was great in this. I thought was really good.
Yeah. Well, what are, I mean, you want to talk about what other scenes
Well,
did you
I would,
like?
I would say for dialogue specifically, it's Barton and Charlie's interactions. I think those were the best parts of the movie. Every time which again, his name's not Charlie technically, but we'll call him Charlie.
Yes.
Uh,
John Goodman's character.
yes, John Goodman. Yeah, he was great in this.
Yeah. Well,
He was great in Raising Arizona also.
he was good, but like he wasn't given as much space to be, and I think they definitely saw that, and when they brought him back, they definitely brought him back for a role that he could really stretch his muscles in.
Oh, definitely.
His acting chops in, or whatever the word is they use.
Yeah, he has his character, so he's really good. Yeah, and his character's very specific that I did not clock in any way. Once they said like what he was, I was like, I had no idea that was coming.
No, me neither.
Not at all. It was just because it was also just cool to see them like every time they interact and like basically just became homies, and they're like, and then Barton's just like so like upset when he's finally like, hey, I gotta leave, and he's like, it's like, dude, you're like my only friend here,
Yeah.
and all that. So I think their interactions were the best, and just the stuff that happens is just funny. Like when they like wrestle, and as soon as he says go, he just like
Flops.
like just destroys him immediately. Yeah, but he's always so John Goodman's character. What is it? Charlie. Yeah. He's always very sincere. He actually reminded me of John Candy in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Like he's kind of like that big like
just
kind of
awkward
like
person.
yeah,
like
awkward, but
awkward
like
from
sincere.
You're
also.
sincere, genuine, but like you have this like awkward, rough edge around you that, it's just who you are. Yeah, no, he did great in this.
Yeah, but I mean, John Turturro also.
Yes.
Now that this is his first like main, because I talked about how I think he was one of the best in Miller's Crossing also,
Right.
And so his character in this I thought also was great. Now this is his first like main role.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's the case with the Coen movies at least, but I don't know if he had a main role.
Yeah,
in
I didn't look
stuff.
into that either. But yeah, giving him both the guys that they worked with previously that they probably saw something in and had smaller roles, and they're like, all right, here's an opportunity to give them bigger roles and let them shine, and they definitely did.
Definitely, yeah. Let's see.
Other scenes did you like or had
I have just like a couple random things. This was at the beginning when he first gets to the hotel and rings the bell. I just love how long that bell just keeps ringing out all the way until Steve Buscemi shows up and just like
comes out of the floor.
Yeah. Comes out of the floor, yeah. Yeah. And that was another one where we already mentioned like he's in one scene and but he's great.
Yeah.
Like
He's
always just some like really quirky character.
Yeah.
Like in the last movie. Yeah. I don't know. Do you have any I got a couple more like little things, but do you have any other specific scenes?
From the scenes from that perspective. Like I said, I think in general, like just I think the stuff we talked about, like the interactions with John Goodman and John Turturro's characters, and was really good. Kind of like the the moment when he like finds kind of like finding out your hero isn't like true when he finds out the lady like
Yeah.
helped write some of the stuff.
I got a note about that. Yeah.
I did like that because it's like kind of like
Yeah, this was his number one favorite.
like author. That,
Yeah.
like he was like, oh, like this is the guy, and then of course he already found out the guy was a little bit of like a has been, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
he kind of already is
But,
just drunk
like-
all the time. But then to find out that even his last couple books, like she helped write
At
him.
least the last couple,
Yeah.
probably more, but she basically said like, no,
Yeah,
not only
yeah.
the last couple, but probably more than that.
Yeah,
I imagine.
yeah.
But yeah,
I thought that was a good scene.
I agree. And then did you think, I think they did this well because as soon as he wakes up, there's the whole mosquito thing. That's a big thing with this
Yes.
movie. And it's on her
Mm-hmm.
and he smacks it. And then, obviously then finds out she's dead. I'm like, oh, he's obviously dreaming. And then it kept going. And I'm like, oh, no, this is for real.
Yeah.
So I thought that was done well because I'm like,
That's the transition point, right? Where
Yeah.
it basically goes from, and that's when it shifts where suddenly it's a
Mhm.
it's a murder mystery.
yeah. And
But-
again, when Charlie comes back in, it's like you have no idea. Like he's very helpful and just like, yeah. So they do all that really well with like setting all that up, I thought.
Yeah,
So yeah, did you think that too? Do you think like, oh, this is a dream sequence?
I was.
Or-
yeah. I was
'Cause,
like,
like,
for a
that's what
second,
it
I was like,
seems
I was
like.
like, why is she really dead? Like, or is he just like imagining this?
yeah,
Because he kept like kind of wandering off. I mean, like he would stare at the girl, put the poster on the wall, or stare at and he kind of like he would like kind of daze out.
yeah, he did that a lot. Yeah,
and like I guess he kind of just lost in his thoughts and wasn't getting anywhere with his writing. But
hmm
yeah, I like the kind of the way like they talk about writing what you know, and he was writing like he's not trying to make something up like that doesn't exist. He was like writing off of like real characters and stuff, which I think also kind of they're speaking to like I guess trying to say that's how they are as writers, the Coen Brothers versus like what some other people maybe or other projects are. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, you said when we did the last movie, they wrote this movie because they had writer's block, right?
Correct. So
Okay.
this movie, they actually they were trying to write Miller's Crossing, and they ran
so it was at the same time.
into issue like it had a writer's block, and then they wrote this, and then went back and finished Miller's Crossing, but then I guess they shot that first because it got released first, and then they shot this because it was already written, I guess.
Yeah, but which actually means that should be Miller's Crossing was 1990,
I think so. Yeah.
so this was a year later.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So I know
This-
I
this
know it was already done, but like
if you're
that's still pretty fast filming and
yeah, no, I mean something like this would take
No,
it'd
not that
take-
long?
take
Okay.
a couple weeks to film and you'd be done.
hmm.
Like actual production time, no, not too bad.
Okay, and I guess so. I guess that the process would be quicker since they do all their own editing and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of other stuff, and it's not a lot of different hands to hand it off to.
Yeah.
I got a couple more. I liked which now because this is shown very early on when he first gets in his hotel room,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's great now thinking about it because it's when I saw this on the paper, I was like, this seems like foreshadowing, and it very much was. It was the name of the hotel is Hotel Earl, but their slogan is a day or a lifetime. And I saw that, I was like, that's cool. I was like, that's got to have some significance because they hold on it for a while, and then like seeing the
Well, you even asked
ending.
him, are you staying? Are you just
Right.
staying a night? Or are you staying? Are you real? What does he call it?
Yeah, he didn't call it
Not a lifetime, but like it was like a
Yeah, he had a
permanent
word for
resident,
it.
like
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was it. So there's that, and then
Yeah, because there's this Easter egg about this movie. Going back to what you're saying, in
Oh, is
Miller's
there?
Crossing, there's something. Yeah, that's because they finished writing this. They put it like there's some I forget what it was, but there's
they put it in the movie.
yeah,
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Maybe
cool.
it's in the trivia when we do
Yeah,
that
yeah.
later, but they end up putting some in Miller's Crossing that like as a Easter egg for this movie.
Mm. So I got two more things. So I like also because it was just funny his Barton's reaction when he goes to I don't remember whose house it is, but the screening room to watch to get get inspiration
watch
for
a
these
bunch of wrestle
wrestling. Yeah,
movies.
and his face and his reaction to it was hilarious because I was like, and it kept showing take after take after take, like so many, and just his reaction. He was like so appalled by it. Was great. I liked that a lot.
Yeah.
And then the final part, which another thing I really like about this movie is most stuff gets answered, but the box does not get answered, even though it's implied. But I like that they even say the line, "What's in the box?" And this is before 7.
Yeah.
So this is the original "What's in the box," which I never realized.
Original "What's in the box."
Yeah.
That's the quote we should have used.
I know.
One of us.
Because it's the woman on the beach, right? At the very end, right?
Yeah,
Before she does the pose from the picture. Yeah, she asked him that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think so. I think you're right.
Obviously, right. I'm assuming it's her head, right? Just like it would be in 7. That's in the box. What did you think it was? That's what I assumed, right? Because they talked about that.
There was like, that's what I assumed too.
Yeah.
Like some, but then he said it, but then he also said it wasn't his or something, right?
You mean Charlie? Charlie said it wasn't?
Like later he was like, and I also lied about that. It's not mine or something.
Oh, I don't remember him saying that. I mean, I remember he said it was like all the things that.
Before he left, he said it was like, keep this
like
for me. Yeah, but then like he said he lied about it. Maybe it was just he lied about it, and maybe it was his, but not. It was ahead and not like.
Yeah,
I don't know. But you're right. They never tell you what's in there.
No, but I mean, what else would it be? Because they talk about him cutting people's heads off.
I know,
like,
and you assume
the size of it. It's like, what else would it be? It is just funny that Barton just carries around the rest of the time and doesn't really even.
Yeah, and he still has it at the end on the beach.
And doesn't really even not even curious to open it, which was funny. I mean, he stared at it sometimes, but he never really wanted to open it. But
I didn't look up who's the actress on the beach at the end.
She did look familiar.
Yeah.
She looked like a cameo. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to look it up because I didn't write a note about that, but I'm just now remembering it. That was a really cool ending on that. Her pose, which is what he was always staring at in the hotel room. I thought that was cool.
Good callback.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the fire thing. I mean, when we get into cinematography, there's some stuff about that I still think is really cool, but I do agree that it was like very heightened and surreal, but it didn't really need to be.
Yeah, I feel like,
and it was kind of out of nowhere, like you said. Yeah,
I mean, it's
you understand the point, but it's like,
yes, I think it's the thing that also dates the movie, right? Like,
you don't think they would do it that way now?
Like, if you were going to do that, you probably wouldn't do that now, and you would, and then you would, and that's the one thing that kind of makes it feel like, oh, it's from the 90s or 80, late 80s, whatever. I mean, 91, whatever.
Yeah.
But like that kind of like more from there, where it's like just kind of trying to do something like that because you can, because it's like, hey, we figured out how to do visual effects.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
True.
Like, I don't know. It just seemed a little out of place, because I think you're right. Like, everything else was great, and set up, and then suddenly like, oh, and then it all makes sense what he was saying, but you didn't pick up on it beforehand that he's a killer, not a insurance salesperson. But
yeah.
So I just think for that, then it kind of threw me off and like made me kind of like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
But and also like the cops, how uncapable they were, I guess is the right word to say. Like, in that scene, like, I'm like, come on, like, neither one of you have a gun to shoot at this guy.
That was their like lines was just like very, again, I'm sure we're gonna keep saying this in the future, at least because I've been pointing out how many like they just do so many old school different types of like film like homages in their movies. And that again is like those two detectives, like even the way they're acting was so very like, I don't want to say cheesy, but like very much like the old school, like detect, like some of the lines they would say and the way they would talk.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of thing is just, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but it was like that stuff.
You mean them not shooting though?
Yeah.
Like, right.
And then the guy like charging it, and then like not, I mean, like, whoa, and then you're like running, and like, yeah, it was a little like, it was just like, I feel like you could have done that a little differently.
Yeah.
Not had the fire, and and then it would still gotten all the points across that they got, but then feel more authentic and not so like breaking into like non-real
Yeah.
things.
I did like how the fire was though, because it seemed all very real. So I was wondering how they did that.
Mm.
Right? It all looked like real fire.
Looked like real fire.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be composited. They could have.
True, I guess, because I'm like they're all very close to it the whole time.
Yeah, but they could have filmed him without it, and then I can't remember how much the camera was moving. Not that you can't do it with a moving camera.
Oh, that's a good point.
If the
Just film it
camera
without
stayed,
anyone,
and then film it burning afterwards after you got all your scenes, and then you composite.
Okay.
Yeah, there's stuff you can do, but yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it did look like real fire. So
yeah, for sure.
Or mix of, I mean, I think nowadays, like if you were gonna do it nowadays, you'd probably do a mix of have some real pyrotechnics, but then that were safe but still there in camera, and then you would add some in post to add to augment.
But in 1991, if they mixed it, it would look really bad. I feel like because the fake fire then.
Well, I'm saying fake, like because you can film, and then you reuse actual filmed fire.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
Like, so you're just using real. You're not trying to make CG fire,
right?
And you're just compositing additional flames and things.
Gotcha. Okay.
And smoke.
That would be better.
Real stuff. It's just adding it into this to like augment what's already there to make it look more intense or whatever. So I don't know, but yeah.
The only other scene that I actually forgot to write a note about, but it reminded me from your quote, was great when he did that whole rant and then just gets punched in the face afterwards. But I thought that whole line was so great, where because he's basically at that point he was on the top of the world because he was like, hey, I'm finally done, and he really believed like, this is like the best thing I've ever written, which.
Right.
That's another cool thing is, we don't really know. Like it could have been,
just wasn't what the studio head was looking for. Yeah, so so that'll lead us. Let's talk about cinematography a little bit. So my initial note is this is the best looking movie so far.
Oh, for sure.
But also probably the least looking movie of Deakins I've ever seen.
Well, this is what I wanted to ask you about, because a while back, I can't remember which movie, you said you were really curious to see older Deakins movies, how like he would do stuff. So that's why I was really curious with this one. This is the oldest Deakins movies that we've done now.
Yeah. It definitely has like the older
like,
style.
Could you tell it was him still?
No, I did not know until I looked afterwards. I did think that it looked better. Like I was watching him like,
it's a huge difference than like the rest of the movies.
Than the three previous movies. And I was like, oh, there's some really cool stuff in here. Mm-hmm. Some interesting, like for instance, the one note I had was for the scene we were just talking about where he does the whole rant and then he gets punched in the face. And then the way they transition that into the trumpet and then into the like
and it goes into the. Does it go into the trumpet there, or am I thinking of a different scene?
No, it goes into the trumpet, into the black of the trumpet, and then back into what was it?
The hotel, I think.
Yes, yeah. But so anyway, there was definitely interesting like things like that, and just camera work that I was like, oh, okay, we're stepping up our game. And then but then I looked at it later and I was like, oh, but then I didn't expect that because the lighting was still like older style lighting. Mm-hmm. So obviously. What I'll be curious to see is if that changes, because I know he works with them multiple times.
Yes.
And so I'm curious to see if that changes or if it's, how much of that is influenced from what the style the Coen Brothers want, because it's similar to the previous movies as far as like the way the lighting's done. So I don't know. But
still, you could tell that it looked way better.
Yeah,
even though similar lighting.
The style of lighting is similar, whereas there's like much more harsh shadows to not as soft, right? But the camera work was, and the framing and things was much better.
Big difference, yeah.
So again, and maybe that's just what Deakins was doing at the time until he kind of graduated into something else. But I thought it was. I mean, it was again. I think it was the best of these movies from a cinematography, but then probably the worst I've seen Deakins do.
Yeah.
Which is not saying it's bad.
No,
It's
I know. Yeah.
just like, um, but yeah. So what was some of the stuff anything that stood out to you that
I
you?
only have one, and there was a couple cool ones, but the only one I wrote down specifically was, now the only thing I didn't write down was where this is at in the movie. I want to say it's near the end, so it could have been right after he finally finished the script or around that time. So hopefully you remember this.
Mm-hmm.
So Barton leans like way back in his chair, and the camera moves, and you see mainly just like the carpet on the floor is like most of the frame. But it's him leaning back, and then it kind of does like a slow push in on him. And I think that was one of the shots I thought was the coolest in the movie. Do you remember that?
I think so. Yeah, I'm trying to remember where it is too. Like when you were saying,
I think it was around there where he was done, or maybe.
Or was it in the beginning we first sat down to start doing? I don't know.
No, it was definitely later. I didn't write it down till later.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was a little later, and maybe even halfway through. Anyway, but yeah, that was the only one I.
The only thing, circling back to, so
Yeah.
the transition shot and the line was great, but also like so random where he just all of a sudden he's dancing at some party that's
With,
for like a Navy and
yeah,
Army.
they're about to ship out. Yeah,
Like,
it
what
was
is- like,
that was out of
why?
nowhere.
Like,
I know.
like that was one of those things I was like, why is this even?
He just wanted to go out and dance.
Yeah, but
'cause
where does this make sense?
He was so
Like,
no, it didn't make sense. But yeah, also it's funny the way he was dancing. It almost reminded me of Kramer a little bit because he was doing like really like
yeah.
just like, or a mix of Kramer and Elaine with the dancing. Like he was flailing about. It was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was feeling like the end of all the pressure. He's like, I'm
Mhm.
done,
Yep.
yay! Even if later we found out the guy didn't like it, but
Yep.
you know, and but at the moment he felt like on top of the world because he got done.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He's basically saying he was better than everyone else there because he
creates.
I create. Yeah.
He creates. I take nothing and make something.
Mm-hmm.
How good when he's supposed to show up at the studio heads. I think he's at the house then when he does the lot, like he basically tells him, he's like, when he's supposed to give him an update, and then he like,
Oh yeah.
and
He's in the back, yeah, by the pool.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and he's like,
With the boss, yeah.
well, I can't really talk about it because he had nothing, but he BS'd his way through it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he
That was
really
good.
did.
That was good.
And it was great, the boss's response,
Mhm.
because you think he's going to get mad at him, and then he basically fires his assistant.
Yeah, which
Instead.
then he's there, but later the assistant's still there.
That was another thing. I was like, oh, he's just back at the
Yes.
end? No explanation. He was just back, yeah.
Well, I think all those are like to kind of poke fun at the studio head
Oh,
like
definitely.
tropes.
Because they will say,
Like,
like, you're fired,
You're
but
fired,
then they're
but
like,
you're
not
really
really.
fired.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
just like they just like to say it, and that's like
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But so how about the score on this?
So it's mostly 5 to 10 second stingers,
Yeah.
and that's it. Like it's
Right, but
very
there's
short.
but it's still more
segments.
there. I feel like than it was in some of the other movies.
Yes, but still mostly. Yeah, there's not a whole lot. So when it would come in, yeah, it would be a very short section. I liked it though because it was very different.
Mhm.
Especially I want to say the very first thing you hear. I think it's right when he lays down for the first time in the hotel room. It's very quick, maybe even less than 5 seconds. I'm trying to remember what exact sound it is. It's kind of hard to tell, but I think that was one of the best. But yeah, I liked this, and again, I am still interested to see, because I am hoping, and I'm assuming he does at some point, does a lot more scoring of like a whole movie and not just like very small sections. Now it depends on the movie though, because there is one very prominent one I won't mention yet, but where there is no score at all. So we still got that too. So
Mhm.
we'll see how it goes from here, because there's still some coming up that I have not seen that it's gonna be cool.
A lot of ones I haven't seen.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah, most of them I haven't.
almost like all of them, right?
Yeah,
Except
yeah.
for what? Oh brother, where art thou? Is that the one?
Nope, I
think
have
you said?
not. I haven't seen.
You haven't
that.
seen that either? Okay. What was the one that
I don't know. I have to look at the list again.
Fargo, Big Lebowski?
I think I saw Big Lebowski a long time ago.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
And Raising Arizona, I saw a long time ago
Right.
too. But
I mean, anything moving forward, yeah, I guess most of them you haven't seen. Wow. I added it to our list. We don't have to do it, but there is a new movie that one of them did that
right,
just came out.
yeah,
I heard it's not good, but
yeah.
we could get to that because
Yeah,
it
we'll have
did
to
already
decide.
come out on VOD. So
We'll have to decide if we want to cover.
right, because then there's
not.
also the Macbeth movie, which was only one of them too, wasn't it? With Denzel.
I don't know.
I don't know if I put that on our list or not, but I think that was one of. Yeah, if we want to do only like ones that are both of them,
Yeah,
then,
we'll talk about it.
yeah, I'm not sure about that one.
So, overall themes and messages. This one. Any, any thoughts? Unless you have more about the music, but
No, that was it.
Yeah, I thought so.
I mean, it's obviously about the writing process in general. Like that's a huge part of this movie. But what I resonated the most with was like how this film deals a lot with how people are treated in the creative field and how it affects them. Like I think that's the part about the movie that I was like, this is really interesting. And anyone that is in a creative field like this can relate to this on some level at least. So that's the part that I really thought about. What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I kind of alluded to earlier on, but it's about like, just because you did something well, and even again, like he did something that was a little bit different. It was a play,
right,
for a different type of audience, and he was successful at that. And then they're like, "Oh, well, then we want you to do this thing," and then because of that, they put all these expectations on what he was going to do. But then really, they didn't want they didn't want him to do great things. They wanted him to just turn out like a mediocre thing and get it done. And so it's like all the expectations and pressure you put on, especially you do one thing successful, and it's like, again, it's not. I don't want to. I always hate talking like this, but like, I won my first Emmy for doing an ad, and then after that, like, there's pressure on like, what are you going to do next?
Oh yeah.
And then, now that I have 5, like, I mean, it's partly things that people come, they're like, oh, what are we, are we going to win an Emmy with this one? I'm like,
yeah,
no. And so like that expectation,
right,
is put on that from sometimes the client, even like, because they are aware of that and of my, my history there. And so like, it's the kind of things you have to learn to deal with, right? Like you got to like and luckily it's not, for me personally, it's not something that I struggle a whole lot with because that's never why I make something in the first place. And so because I don't focus on that, like even if they joke around, I just kind of like joke back, and then I just be like, yeah, I'm just going to make what needs to be made for their project, and regardless. And then if something turns out in the end, because when I make a decision and what I'm going to submit, if I'm going to submit anything, most of the time, it's 6 months after the project's done. And I'm trying to decide, and I'm like, what in the last year did I do that I think was even worth it to submit for? And then sometimes there's like 1 or 2 things, and then I submit for it. I'm not thinking of that when I make the thing, or produce the thing, but but totally a thing. Like you feel that, and sometimes it's you're the pressure to deliver, especially when you're, for instance, making something that's second time, third time, like, in the same type of content, and you're just like, but they want you to come up with a new idea to be creative, but around the same product, right? And it's like, okay, that's challenging, right? Like, it's just like, you got to do something different here. So, yeah. But, yeah, I think, definitely anyone that does type of, and like you said, in the creative field can resonate with some of the themes in here. And I think it came from their heart of like, what they probably feel in that process, and and I think you saw that in the movie. So
also seemed like now this I don't know, but I mean they mention Barton being Jewish a lot. And are the Coens Jewish? Because I wonder
don't
if that
know.
has to do with it as well.
I don't know.
Because that was a big thing in this movie as well. So I was wondering about that.
So a little bit of trivia.
Mm-hmm.
So the parts played by John Turturro, John Goodman, and John Polito, and Steve Buscemi were all written with those guys in mind. So
Yeah, that makes sense. All people they worked with before.
this movie was written by Joel and Ethan Coen after a trip to see Baby Boom while suffering writer's block writing Miller's Crossing.
Okay.
Frances McDormand was the female voice heard on stage, like you said at the beginning.
We find the connection with Miller's Crossing.
That's all.
Yeah.
According to Roger Deakins, the Coen Brothers are so precise in their planning that there's only about 10 shots that they filmed that didn't end up in the finished movie.
So that's normally very
That's rare.
low. Yeah.
That's
right.
rare. So it says Barton Fink was an avatar of the writer Clifford Odets. So that's who it's more based on
okay.
than themselves. The picture of the girl at the beach hanging on Barton's hotel room was recreated in the law of non-contradiction
Mm-hmm.
in Los Angeles to investigate a murder. The Minnesota police officer takes a side trip to the beach.
Oh, okay.
John Polito originally turned down the role. He wanted the role of Jack Lipnick instead. However, Frances McDormand persuaded Polito to accept the role.
Nice. She's always involved in their movies in some way.
It says, in the end credits, it gives thanks to the golden throat of William Preston Robertson. This actor has never physically performed in any picture, but has lent his golden voice to Blood Simple, Raising Arizona, and Miller's Crossing. He also provided the drunken howl sounds in Barton Fink. Where's my honey? So these drunken shouting scenes in Barton Fink were not actually voiced by John Mahoney himself because he is overdubbed by the golden throat of William Preston Robertson.
Okay. When he's doing all that, or I'm assuming when he's like singing too, and he's like walking away, all that stuff. Okay, that wasn't him. That was dubbed. I'm trying to look and see if we know who this, because she looked familiar. The girl at the end.
The fictional movie studio Capitol Pictures shows up again in Hail Caesar, another film by the Coen Brothers.
Have you seen that one?
No.
Okay. That's cool. It's connected to that. I mean, that makes sense. That is about movies also. In, I think, the 50s, though, I believe. Haven't seen that movie
Bruce
in a while.
Campbell revealed in his autobiography that he unsuccessfully auditioned for a role in this.
Oh, man. I love Bruce Campbell. I think I have not seen the next movie we're doing either, but I believe he's in that one, which is cool.
The former cinematographer, Barry Sonnenfeld, was unable to shoot this film as he was busy directing the Addams Family movie in 1991.
Nice.
So that's why he wasn't on this.
That was a cool movie, too. That original one.
In 2009, the Coen Brothers mentioned they'd like to make a sequel to Barton Fink.
Really?
Yeah.
That would be cool. I don't know what you would do with that, but that would be interesting.
Yeah, that's about
I cannot find
who that person is.
I'm going to have to. Maybe I'll just Google it instead of going through the cast.
Yeah, so our next film is The Hudsucker Proxy.
Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about this movie either.
Me either. The same with this one that we just watched.
This one I feel like I never even heard the name, The Hudsucker Proxy. That's
but Barton Fink, like I didn't watch the trailer or anything because I like to go into
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
If
yeah.
I
You
don't
want to
already
go in.
know anything, I just
That is the best way to do it. Yeah, going completely blind.
Did you find anything on the
No, I'm just Googling and it's still not.
Nothing.
So it must be something very
vague?
uncredited.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering because she actually did look familiar. Like she
Yeah.
was like a model at that time or something.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of us talking about Barton Fink. If you had thoughts or feedback, you can leave a comment on YouTube or you can email us at feedback@screentimepod.com.
Yeah, let us know if there's a deeper meaning to like all that where it gets all surreal at the end. I wonder if there's any let us know if there's anything more to that.
Yeah, and what you think of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like to know. And if you haven't already, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, you can follow me at jyoungbar.
And I'm at Jared Youngbar.
And with that, we will catch you guys next time.